Hello everyone, this is Arvind Verma from shannonAVTech. In this video, we will discuss the layout principle and the controls in the WPF. So let's start. WPF has many layout controls. The most familiar container control is the grid control. By default, each window opens in the Visual Studio has a grid by default. The grid allows you to position controls within the user definable cells. Control placed in the cells maintain the fixed margin between two or more control edges and cell edges within when the window resizes. When a cell added to a window, a grid control consists of a single cell. Additional vertical and horizontal rows can be added to the grid control when required. So let's move to the demonstration. Now this is the default template provided by Visual Studio. I have just added two rows into the grid and you can see the reflections of my markup into the XAML designer. I can also create the columns with the help of column definitions. The column definitions and the row definitions are the collection which contains column definitions and row definitions. You can have the height property with the row definitions 1 asterisk and 2 asterisk, meaning that this is the one portion of the available space and this is the two and this is the remaining two portion of the available space. The grid will divide it into the three equal spaces. 2 will give to this row and the one portion of the space will give to this row definition. You can also define width property in the column definitions. Width property with the asterisk mark, it means one portion of the free space is given to this column, and this column definition has a fixed width of the 200 pixels. Now you can place the controls in the grid by specifying the control with grid.row and with the grid.column property. These properties are attached property because these are not the own properties of the button. These are the properties provided by its parent, which is the grid. By default, every control is placed in the grid.row is equals to 0 and grid.column is equals to 0. It means the first cell, as you can see with the rectangle. You can also define the show grid line property of the grid control to true so that the grid will show you the lines between the separation, the lines for the separation of the controls. Let's run the application. Now our next control is the uniform grid. The uniform grid controls provide a simplified grid layout for the controls. As controls are added to the uniform grid, they are laid out in the grid pattern that is automatically adjusted to keep an equal distance between the controls. For example, if 4 controls are added to a uniform grid, they will be arranged in a grid with 4 cells. Now see uniform grid in action. Now I have added 4 buttons in the uniform grid having their content property initialized with the button 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now see, all the controls are arranged automatically within the grid. If I specify the height and width property, see, the grid layout is automatically adjusted. Now our next control is canvas control. The canvas control supports absolute positioning and provides a least built-in layout functionality in its content controls. Canvas provides 4 properties to the content controls, which are the top, bottom, right and left. Control contained in a canvas control must specify one horizontal property and one vertical property. Thereby designating the corner that a control will be offset from. For example, if the control specifies the value of the top and right, it will maintain a constant distance from the upper right hand corner. If value for more than one horizontal and the vertical properties are specified, then one of the value will be ignored. Now you can see I can drag and drop the controls onto the canvas. The only thing you have to specify is the attached property of the canvas control, which is the canvas.left defined for this text box, and this is the another canvas.top property. It means this is the 83 and this is what something to be 97, and same with the radio button and the label controls.